The warning lights flashed red across the bridge of the Harmony's edge. Captain Day-Wan stared at the screen, his fingers drumming against the armrest of his chair. The distress beacon pulsed from somewhere deep in the asteroid field ahead. Nothing good ever came from that sector of space. "Can you identify the signal?" Day-Wan asked. Pilot Jin-Soo worked the controls, his young face creased with concentration. After a moment, he looked up with wide eyes. "Sir, it's Valthari." The bridge went silent. Everyone knew about the Valthari. They were legends across the galaxy, 8 feet tall, covered in scales that glowed in the dark, and strong enough to tear through metal with their bare hands. They had conquered 3 star systems and never lost a single war. More importantly, they killed anyone who got too close to their ships. "We should report it and move on," said Hyun-Soo from the security station. His hand rested on his weapon. "Valthari don't ask for help. This could be a trap." Day-Wan nodded slowly. Hyun-Soo was right to be cautious, but something about the signal bothered him. It was weak, fading in and out like a dying heartbeat. "Captain," said Hai-Wan from the science station. She pushed her glasses up her nose, a habit she had when she was thinking hard. "That signal has been broadcasting for at least 6 hours. If it was a trap, they would have changed tactics by now." "Or they're very patient," Hyun-Soo muttered. Day-Wan looked at his crew. They were scientists and explorers, not soldiers. The Harmony's edge was built for research, not combat. If the Valthari wanted to attack them, his ship wouldn't stand a chance. But he had seen enough of space to know that distress signals meant someone was dying, even if that someone was a Valthari. "Jin-Soo, take us in slowly. Keep the engines ready for a fast exit. Hyun-Soo, weapons on standby but not armed. I don't want to provoke anything." Day-Wan stood up. "Hey, Wan, you're with me. Let's see what we're dealing with." The asteroid field was dangerous to navigate. Rocks the size of buildings drifted through space, colliding and breaking apart. Jin-Soo guided the ship carefully, his hands steady on the controls. After 20 minutes, they found the source of the signal. The Valthari ship was small, maybe a scout vessel or a transport. Half of it was crushed, probably from an asteroid impact. It drifted without power, spinning slowly in the darkness. No lights, no movement. "Life signs?" Day-Wan asked. Medical Officer So-Min checked her instruments. "I'm reading 4. One is very weak, the others are small, much smaller than adult Valthari." "Children?" Hai-Wan whispered. "I don't know. I've never seen Valthari biological data before. No one has." Day-Wan made his decision. "Prepare a boarding team. Hai-Wan, So-Min, Tae-Jin, you're with me. Hyun-Soo, keep the ship ready. If anything goes wrong, you leave without us." "Captain, I can't." "That's an order." They suited up in their EVA gear and crossed to the damaged Valthari ship. The airlock had been damaged, so Tae-Jin had to cut through with his tools. The metal screamed as it gave way. Inside, the air was thin and cold. Emergency lights flickered weakly. They found the adult Valthari in what looked like a command room. He was massive, even lying down. His scales were dark red, but they had lost their glow. His breathing was shallow and wet. When he saw the humans, his eyes opened wide. He tried to reach for a weapon, but his arm fell back to the floor. "Don't move," Day-Wan said calmly. "We're here to help." The Valthari warrior made a sound, something between a growl and a wheeze. His translator was damaged, but words came through in broken pieces. "No. Time. The young—" "Where?" Hai-Wan asked, kneeling beside him despite Hyun-Soo's protest through the radio. The Valthari lifted one claw and pointed down the corridor. "Save them, please." Day-Wan felt a chill. The galaxy's most feared predator was begging them for help. Something was very wrong. "So-Min, stay with him. Everyone else, follow me." They found the young Valthari in a cargo bay. that had been converted into some kind of nursery. 3 of them, each about the size of a large dog. Their scales were still soft, showing colors of gray, red, and orange. They huddled together in a corner, making high-pitched sounds of distress. "They're babies," HFY breathed. "They can't be more than a few weeks old." One of the young Valthari snapped at Taijin when he got too close. Its teeth were already sharp, but its movements were clumsy and weak. "Can we move them?" Daewon asked. "We have to," Haiwan said. "The radiation levels in this ship are increasing. They'll die if they stay here." Over the radio, So-min's voice came through. "Captain, the adult is trying to tell me something. He's very insistent." They returned to the command room. The Valthari warrior was weaker now. Blood, dark and thick, pooled beneath him. He grabbed Daewon's suit with surprising strength, pulling him close. His translator crackled to life for a moment. "Take them to outpost. Coordinates in system." The warrior coughed, his body shaking. "Tell them Threxes died protecting the next generation. Tell them, trust the soft skins. You are gentle enough." The light faded from his eyes. His hand fell away from Daewon's suit. So-min checked his vital signs and shook her head. "He's gone." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then HFY broke the silence. "We need to get those juveniles off this ship now." Back on the Harmony's edge, they set up a temporary containment area in the medical bay. The 3 young Valthari were sedated, lying on padded tables while So-min ran scans. The readings made her frown. "Captain, their biology is breaking down. I don't know how to explain it. It's like their cells are forgetting how to function." "What do they need?" Daewon asked. "I don't know. Our database has almost nothing on Valthari physiology. We know they're dangerous and hard to kill, but that's it. We don't know what they eat, what atmosphere they breathe best in, or what medical care they need." HFY stood by the smallest juvenile, the one with gray scales. It made a soft chirping sound in its sleep. "We have to figure it out. That warrior trusted us with them. We can't let him down." Daewon looked at the 3 sleeping aliens. They were the children of humanity's most dangerous neighbors. By all logic, he should be afraid of them. But all he could see were 3 frightened babies who had just lost their protector. "Get me everything you can from the Valthari ship's computers. Taijin, I want you pulling data constantly. So-min, HFY, you 2 don't sleep until you understand what these juveniles need to survive." He walked to the bridge and sat heavily in his chair. Through the window, he could see the destroyed Valthari ship drifting away. Somewhere out there, other Valthari would be looking for these young ones. When they found the human ship instead, there would be questions, probably weapons. But for now, they had 3 lives to save. Everything else would have to wait. 48 hours had passed, and the 3 young Valthari were dying. So-min watched the monitors with growing fear. Their vital signs dropped lower with each passing hour. Nothing she tried was working. "They won't eat," she told the others in the medical bay. "I've tried every protein compound we have. They won't even look at it." HFY sat on the floor near the smallest juvenile, the gray-scaled one they had started calling Ash. It lay curled up, its breathing shallow. "Maybe they're too stressed, or maybe they need something specific we don't have." "They need to eat something," So-min said. Her voice was tight with frustration. "At this rate, they'll be dead in another day." Taijin burst through the door, his tablet glowing with data. "I found something. It took me forever to crack the encryption on the Valthari ship's logs, but look at this." He showed them a video file. It was damaged, skipping and corrupted, but it showed the interior of what looked like a Valthari breeding facility. The young Valthari were in special chambers that pulsed with a soft blue light. "What is that?" Daewon asked, entering the medical bay. "Some kind of electromagnetic field," Taijin said, scrolling through more data. According to these logs, Valthari juveniles need specific electromagnetic frequencies during their first months of life. It regulates their metabolism. Without it, they can't process food properly. So they're starving, Haywan said softly. Even if we give them food, their bodies can't use it. Can we generate that frequency? Daewon asked. Tae-jin nodded. I think so. But I'll need to modify our medical equipment. It might take a few hours. You have two, Daewon said. Get to work. While Tae-jin worked, something strange happened. Haiwan had been talking softly to the juveniles, mostly to herself. She spoke about Earth, about her childhood, about anything that came to mind. She didn't expect them to understand, but it made her feel better. The gray-scaled juvenile, Ash, opened its eyes. It lifted its head slightly and made a soft chirping sound. Then the other two juveniles, the red-scaled one they called Ember and the orange-scaled one they called Spark, did the same. So-min, Haywan whispered. Are you seeing this? So-min checked her instruments. Their heart rates are increasing. Their neural activity is spiking. What did you do? I just talked to them. Do it again. Haywan cleared her throat and spoke again. Hey there, little ones. I know you're scared. I know everything is strange and wrong, but we're trying to help you. All three juveniles turned toward her voice. Their eyes, which had been dull and unfocused, suddenly seemed alert. Spark, the orange one, made a sound that was almost like a purr. Incredible, So-min breathed. They're responding to your voice patterns. Look at their scans. Their stress hormones are dropping. Why would Valthari Young respond to human voices? Daewon asked. Maybe they imprint on caregivers, Haywan said. Lots of species do. The frequency of the sound might matter more than what's being said. Tae-jin called from across the room. I've got the electromagnetic field generator working. Let's see if this helps. He activated the modified equipment. A soft hum filled the room, though it was barely audible to human ears. The change in the juveniles was immediate. They lifted their heads fully. Their scales began to glow faintly. Ember made a loud chirping sound and tried to stand. It's working, So-min said, watching the monitors. Their metabolism is stabilizing. Quick, try feeding them again. This time, when So-min offered food, all three juveniles ate. They were clumsy and messy, but they ate. Within an hour, their vital signs had improved dramatically. The crew celebrated, but their relief was short-lived. Communications Officer Yuri called from the bridge. Captain, you need to see this. Daewon rushed to the bridge. The screen showed multiple signals approaching their position. Big signals. Military signals. Valthari battle fleet, Yuri said. At least 5 capital ships. They'll be here in less than 3 hours. Can we outrun them? Daewon asked. Jin-Soo shook his head. Not with them between us and human space. We'd have to go deeper into Valthari territory, and we don't have enough fuel for that. What are they transmitting? Daewon asked. Yuri's face was pale. They're demanding the return of their stolen brood. They say we're kidnappers. They say we'll be punished for our crime. Hyun-soo stood up from his station. Stolen? We saved those juveniles. They don't know that, Daewon said quietly. All they know is that their people are dead and humans have their children. We could show them the logs from the Valthari ship, Tae-jin suggested. Show them what really happened. Will they listen before they shoot? Hyun-soo asked. No one had an answer for that. Daewon thought hard. Running would make them look guilty. Staying meant trusting that the Valthari would be reasonable. Neither option was good. Yuri, can you establish a communication channel with the fleet? I can try. It took several attempts, but finally, a Valthari face appeared on the screen. She was massive, with dark blue scales and eyes that seemed to see right through them. Her translator made her voice sound cold and sharp. Human vessel, you will prepare to be boarded. The stolen brood will be returned. Your crew will be detained for questioning. My name is Captain Day-Wan, he said, keeping his voice calm and steady. We didn't steal anyone. We responded to a distress signal. We found a dying Valthari warrior and 3 juveniles. The warrior asked us to save them. His last words are recorded in our logs. The Valthari commander studied him. Warrior Threxus would never trust humans with sacred young. He did, Day-Wan said, because he had no choice. His ship was dying. He was dying. He begged us to help them. You lie. I don't. I'll prove it. Day-Wan took a breath. He said to tell you that Threxus died protecting the next generation. He said to tell you to trust the soft skins because we are gentle enough. The Valthari commander's eyes widened slightly. Those were private words, family words. How do you know them? Because he said them to me before he died. Check the logs of your damaged ship. Check the records. We're not your enemy. We're trying to help. There was a long silence. The Valthari commander's face disappeared from the screen. Yuri looked at Day-Wan with worry. Did it work? She asked. I don't know. An hour passed. The Valthari fleet arrived and surrounded the Harmony's edge. Weapons were locked on target. Everyone waited. Then the communication channel opened again. We will board your vessel, the Valthari commander said. If the young are harmed, you will die. If they are well, we will talk. It wasn't a good offer, but it was better than being destroyed immediately. Understood, Day-Wan said. We'll open our docking bay. He turned to his crew. Hey-Wan, So-Min, make sure the juveniles are comfortable. Everyone else, stand down all weapons. Let's show them we're telling the truth. In the medical bay, the 3 young Valthari were playing. Well, it was more like clumsy wrestling, but they seemed happy. They chirped and tumbled over each other. When they saw Hey-Wan, all 3 ran to her, making excited sounds. They really have imprinted on you, So-Min said. I hope the Valthari see that as a good thing, Hey-Wan replied, trying to calm her nerves. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed through the ship. The Valthari were coming. Day-Wan stood at the entrance to the medical bay. His heart pounded, but he kept his face calm. This was the moment that would decide if his crew lived or died. The door opened. The Valthari commander entered, flanked by 4 massive warriors. They had to duck to fit through the human-sized doorways. Their scales gleamed with power. Their claws could tear through steel. But when they saw the 3 juveniles, something changed. The commander's aggressive stance softened. She made a sound, something low and rumbling. All 3 juveniles looked up. They chirped in response. Then Spark, the brave orange one, ran toward the commander, not in fear, but in greeting. The commander knelt down. The massive warrior who had threatened to destroy them all gently touched the juvenile with one claw. Little one, she whispered, you are safe. Ember and Ash joined Spark, surrounding the commander. They climbed on her, making happy sounds. She held them carefully, like they were made of glass. Then she looked at the humans. Her eyes were still hard, but something had changed in them. How? She asked. How did you keep them alive? The Valthari commander introduced herself as Vexithora, fleet commander of the Northern Defense Force. She sat in the medical bay, too large for the human chairs, so she simply sat on the floor. The 3 juveniles climbed all over her while she listened to Haiwan's explanation. We almost didn't figure it out in time, Haiwan admitted. Tae-Jin found the data about the electromagnetic frequencies in the damaged ship's computers. Without that, they would have starved. Vexithora ran her claws gently over Ash's scales. Electromagnetic stimulation is standard for all brood chambers. Every Valthari knows this. Why did you not know? Because humans have never been allowed near Valthari young before, Day-Wan said. Your people don't share that kind of information. For good reason, one of Vexithora's warriors growled. Such knowledge could be weaponized. We didn't weaponize it, So-Min said quietly. We used it to save them. Vexithora studied the three juveniles. They seemed healthier than she expected. Their scales were bright, their movements energetic. Spark was trying to climb up her shoulder, chirping happily. They have grown, she said, surprised. In only 2 days, they have grown more than they should. Is that bad? HFY asked, worried. No, it is unusual. Good, but unusual. Vexithora looked at the medical equipment surrounding them. Show me your methods. Show me everything you did. For the next hour, HFY and So-Min explained their process. They showed the modified equipment, the feeding schedules, the monitoring systems. But Vexithora seemed most interested in something else. You stayed with them? She asked HFY. Yes, most of the time. I talked to them, even though they couldn't understand me. I wanted them to know they weren't alone. And they responded to your presence? Yes. Their stress levels dropped significantly when they could hear my voice. Vexithora was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something that surprised everyone. This should not work. Valthari young are taught to be independent from hatching. We do not coddle them. Weakness must be eliminated early. They're not weak, HFY said defensively. They're children. That is a human perspective. Maybe, HFY agreed, but they're alive and healthy because of that perspective. Vexithora couldn't argue with that. She stood, carefully moving the juveniles aside. I must consult with my council. Captain Day-Wan, you and your science officer will accompany me to my flagship. The rest of your crew will remain here. It wasn't a request. Hyun-Soo started to object, but Day-Wan silenced him with a look. We'll go. The Valthari flagship was called the Crimson Talon. It was massive, built for war, with weapons that could destroy planets. Day-Wan and HFY felt very small, walking through its corridors. Valthari warriors stopped and stared at them. Some looked curious. Others looked angry. They were brought to a chamber filled with Valthari leaders. Vexithora stood at the center and explained what had happened. She showed them the data from the human ship. She showed them the health records of the three juveniles. They should not be this healthy, said an older Valthari with silver-gray scales. Not after what they endured. Not without proper brood tenders. The humans acted as brood tenders, Vexithora said. Impossible, another warrior snapped. Soft skins do not have the knowledge or the strength to care for our young. Yet they did, Vexithora replied. The council argued among themselves. Their translator devices created a jumble of sound that was hard for the humans to follow, but Day-Wan caught pieces of it. Words like weakness and contamination and dangerous precedent. Finally, Vexithora silenced them all with a roar. Enough! I did not bring the humans here to debate philosophy. I brought them here because we need them. Need them? The older Valthari looked offended. We need nothing from humans. Then explain this, Vexithora said, activating a holographic display. It showed charts and graphs. 40%. That is our juvenile survival rate. It has been dropping for a century. We are losing more young every year. The room went quiet. Day-Wan felt HFY tense beside him. We do not discuss this with outsiders, the old Valthari said. Perhaps we should, Vexithora replied. Our silence has not solved the problem. Our science has not solved the problem. Our traditions have not solved the problem. But these humans, with no knowledge of our ways, managed to save 3 juveniles and help them thrive. How? She turned to HFY. Explain to the council what you did. HFY swallowed nervously. Being stared at by a room full of Valthari warriors was terrifying. But she thought about Ash, Ember, and Spark. She thought about how they chirped when they saw her. She found her courage. We didn't really know what we were doing, she admitted. We just treated them the way we would treat any scared child. We kept them warm and safe. We made sure they had what they needed. We stayed with them so they wouldn't be alone. We talked to them gently. We showed them they were protected. You coddled them, a warrior said with disgust. No, Haywan said firmly. We cared for them. There's a difference. They still learned. They still played and tested their strength, but they knew they were safe while doing it. Valthari young do not need to feel safe, the warrior argued. They need to be strong. Maybe they can be both, Haywan suggested. The old Valthari studied her carefully. You believe this? That strength and safety are not opposites? I know it, Haywan said. Human children are vulnerable when they're born, more vulnerable than Valthari young. But we protect them fiercely. We create safe spaces for them to grow, and when they become adults, they're strong, not despite being protected, but because of it. Human philosophy, the warrior dismissed. Human results, Vexthora corrected. 3 juveniles that should be dead are instead thriving. Can you explain that with our philosophy? No one answered. Another Valthari entered the chamber. He was massive, even by Valthari standards, with battle scars covering his scales. Daywan recognized the same red coloring that the dying warrior Threxus had possessed. I am Threxen, the newcomer said. Brother of Threxus, I heard that humans were on this ship. I came to see the ones my brother trusted with his final words. He approached Daywan, towering over him. For a moment, Daywan thought he was about to be attacked. But then Threxen knelt, bringing his face level with Daywan's. My brother was the finest warrior I knew, Threxen said. He would not have trusted weak beings with the young. Tell me why he trusted you. Daywan met his eyes. Because he knew we would protect them. Not because we're strong like you, but because we couldn't do anything else. It's who we are. Soft, Threxen said. Yes. But my brother said softness could be strength. Your brother was wise. Threxen stood and turned to the council. I have read the logs from my brother's ship. I have seen the recordings. The humans earned his trust in his final moments. That is enough for me. If they can teach us how to save our young, then we should learn. You would have us take lessons from prey species? A warrior demanded. I would have us save our children, Threxen replied. What are we if we let pride kill our future? The council erupted in argument again. Some agreed with Threxen. Others were outraged at the suggestion. The debate grew heated. Daywan noticed some Valthari reaching for weapons. Vexithora roared again, demanding silence. But this time, not everyone listened. The divisions ran deeper than Daywan had realized. They're going to fight, Haywan whispered. Maybe, Daywan replied. Or maybe they're just scared. Scared? They're Valthari. They're parents watching their children die. Fear doesn't care how strong you are. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. A warrior rushed into the chamber. Commander, extremist forces are approaching. They demand the humans be executed and all data destroyed. Vexithora's eyes blazed with anger. Who dares? Faction Commander Corvesh. He leads 6 ships. He says the humans have contaminated the young and must die to preserve Valthari purity. Purity, Threxen spat. While our species dies, he talks of purity. Vexithora made a decision. Get the humans back to their ship, prepare for battle, and someone get those 3 juveniles somewhere safe. As warriors rushed to their stations, Daywan and Haywan were escorted back to the Harmony's edge. Through the windows, they could see more Valthari ships arriving. The situation was spiraling out of control. Back in the medical bay, So-Min was trying to keep the juveniles calm. They could sense the tension and were becoming agitated. When Haywan entered, all 3 ran to her immediately. What's happening? So-Min asked. Civil war, maybe? Haywan said, holding Ash close. We've started something we can't control. Jinsu's voice came over the intercom. Captain, We have multiple Valthari fleets positioning around us. Some are protecting us. Others are targeting us. What do we do? Day-One looked at the three juveniles. They were the center of all this chaos. Three small lives that had somehow become the focal point of an entire species crisis. We do what Threxus asked us to do, Day-One said. We protect them, no matter what. Outside, the first weapons fire lit up space. The battle for the future of the Valthari had begun. The battle was short but intense. Vexus Thora's fleet defended the human ship while extremist Valthari tried to destroy it. Day-One watched from the bridge as massive warships exchanged fire. Each blast could have vaporized his ship in seconds, but the fighting stayed away from them. Vexus Thora was keeping her word. After 2 hours, the extremist ships retreated. 3 of them were destroyed. The rest fled into deeper space. Vexus Thora's face appeared on the communication screen. She looked tired. "It is done for now," she said. "But Corvesh will return with more ships. We have perhaps 1 week before the real battle begins. Captain Day-One, I am formally requesting that you and your crew come to Valthar Prime, our homeworld. We need you there." "Why?" Day-One asked. "Because you need to see the truth. All of it." 3 days later, the Harmony's Edge entered orbit around Valthar Prime. The planet was beautiful in a harsh way. Red deserts, black mountains, cities that looked like they were carved from metal and stone. This was a warrior's world. They landed at the capital city. Thousands of Valthari watched as the humans disembarked. Some looked curious, many looked angry. The 3 juveniles stayed close to Haiwan, sensing the hostility. "Where are we going?" Day-One asked Vexus Thora. "To the sanctuary spires, where we raise our young." The sanctuary spires were massive towers at the center of the city. Inside, it was quieter, warmer. Hundreds of eggs rested in special chambers, glowing with the electromagnetic fields that kept the juveniles inside healthy. Adult Valthari moved between the chambers, monitoring everything carefully. An ancient Valthari approached them. Her scales were so old they had turned white. She moved slowly, but her eyes were sharp. "I am Broodmaster Kira. I have tended young for 300 years. Show me these humans who think they can care for our children." Haiwan stepped forward, still holding Ash. The gray-scaled juvenile chirped at the Broodmaster, who made a soft sound in response. "This one knows you," Kira said. "It has bonded to you completely. That is rare. Even with our own brood tenders, such bonds take months to form." "It only took days with the humans," Vexus Thora added. Kira studied Haiwan carefully. "What is your secret?" "I don't have one," Haiwan said honestly. "I just tried to make them feel safe and loved." "Loved," Kira repeated the word slowly. "That is an interesting concept. We do not use that word with young. We use duty, responsibility, obligation." "Maybe that's the problem," Haiwan said quietly. Kira's eyes narrowed. "Explain." "May I be honest?" "I insist." Haiwan took a breath. "From what I've seen, Valthari treat raising young like a military operation. Everything is scheduled, measured, controlled. You focus on making them strong, but strength isn't just physical. Young beings need emotional security too. They need to know someone cares about them, not just about their survival. "We are not humans," a younger brood tender said sharply. "We do not require emotional coddling." "Your survival rates say otherwise," Haiwan replied. The room went silent. Several Valthari looked ready to attack her for the insult. But Broodmaster Kira held up a hand. "She speaks truth, even if it cuts deep. Come, I will show you our shame." Kira led them deeper into the sanctuary spires. They entered a chamber filled with medical equipment and data screens. The numbers told a terrible story. 100 years ago," Kira began, 80% of our young reached adulthood. Today it is 40%. Tomorrow it may be 30. We are dying as a species, not from war, but from our own inability to nurture life. She pulled up more data. Charts showing hormone levels, stress responses, developmental disorders. Our young are born healthy. The eggs are perfect. But something happens during the first months of life. They fail to thrive. They develop incorrectly. Some simply stop growing and fade away. What do your doctors say? So-min asked. That it is genetic. That we have bred ourselves into a corner. That centuries of selecting for warrior traits has made us unable to care for the weak. Kira's voice was bitter. Perhaps they are right. Or perhaps, said Mi-sun, the cultural advisor from the human crew, you've created a society where only warriors are valued. What happened to the Valthari who weren't good at fighting? They were not selected for breeding, Vexithora admitted. For many generations, only the strongest warriors produced young. So you eliminated everyone who was naturally good at caring for others, Mi-sun said. The gentle ones, the patient ones, the ones who would have made good parents. The Valthari looked uncomfortable. Threxen spoke up. We believed we were making our species stronger. You made them more uniform, Mi-sun replied. But nature needs diversity. You need different kinds of strength. Tai-jin was studying the medical data. There's something else here. Look at the stress hormone levels in the juveniles. They're extremely high, even in healthy ones. Young warriors must learn to handle stress, a brood tender said. But these are babies, Tai-jin replied. Constant stress during early development damages the brain. It's basic biology. The young need periods of calm to develop properly. We are teaching them to be warriors, the brood tender insisted. You're teaching them to be afraid, Haewon said. There's a difference between challenging a child and traumatizing one. Broodmaster Kira sat down heavily. I have suspected this for years. But to hear it said so plainly... She looked at the 3 juveniles playing near Haewon. Those 3 are different. Even I can see it. They are alert, curious, confident. Our young are cautious, fearful, withdrawn. Because they feel safe with us, Haewon explained. When children feel safe, they explore. They learn. They grow stronger. When they feel threatened all the time, they shut down. They just try to survive. Then how do we fix this? Vexthora demanded. We cannot become human. You don't need to, Mi-sun said. You need to remember how to be more than just warriors. You need to value the parts of your nature that you've been suppressing. That is easy for you to say, a warrior growled. You do not understand our culture. No, Mi-sun agreed. But I understand that cultures change or they die. And right now, yours is dying. Threxen stepped forward. My brother Threxus was the finest warrior I knew. He killed enemies without mercy. He never retreated from battle. But in his final moments, he was gentle. He begged soft skins to save 3 small lives. That gentleness did not make him weak. It made him complete. Pretty words, another warrior said. But how do we teach an entire species to be something we are not? You let us help, Daewon said. That's why Vexithora brought us here, isn't it? Not just to show us the problem, but to work on the solution. Vexithora nodded. We need trainers, teachers, beings who can show our brood tenders how to care for young the way you care for them. You want humans to raise Valthari children? Hyun-soo looked shocked. No, Broodmaster Kira said. We want humans to teach Valthari how to raise our own children. There is a difference. Some will refuse, Vexithora warned. Many will fight against this. The extremists like Korvesh will see it as contamination. There may be more battles. There will definitely be more battles, Threxen said. But this is a war worth fighting. We are fighting for our future. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the sanctuary spires. A warrior rushed in. Extremist attack! They're targeting the sanctuary! Everyone moved at once. Vexithora began shouting orders. Brood tenders started evacuating eggs. Warriors armed themselves. Chaos erupted. An explosion rocked the building. The lights went out, replaced by emergency backup. Smoke filled the corridors. Through the smoke, Day One could see shapes moving. Extremist warriors, armed and armored, breaking into the sanctuary. "They're going to destroy the research," Tae-jin shouted. "All the data we've collected." Another explosion. The computer system sparked and died. Months of work, gone in seconds. The extremists were thorough. They wanted to erase any evidence that humans could help Valthari. "Protect the young," Kira commanded. Vexithora and Threxen led the defense, fighting against their own people. It was brother against brother, all for a choice about the future. Daewon grabbed Haewon and the juveniles, trying to get them to safety. The battle was brutal and short. The extremists were outnumbered, but they had accomplished their goal. The research center was destroyed. The data was lost. Everything they had learned was gone. Except for one thing. Broodmaster Kira stood in the wreckage, looking at Ash, Ember, and Spark, the three juveniles who had thrived under human care. "The data is destroyed," she said quietly, "but the proof remains. These three are living evidence that a different way is possible." "Then we'll rebuild," Vexithora said. "We'll document everything again. But this time, we'll do it faster. We don't have years to debate. We have months before Corvesh returns with a full fleet." "How many humans would you need?" Daewon asked. 20, Kira replied. 20 human trainers, working with our best brood tenders, teaching them your methods. It is not many, but it is a start." Daewon looked at his small crew. "I'll ask Earth for volunteers, but I can't promise anything." "I'll stay," Haewon said immediately. "Those three juveniles need me, and there are thousands more that need help." One by one, the rest of the crew volunteered. So-min, Tae-jin, Mi-sun, even cautious Hyun-soo. They would stay on Valthar Prime and help save a dying species. "Then it begins," Vexithora said. "The hardest battle we have ever fought, not with weapons, but with change." In the ruins of the research center, Ash, Ember, and Spark chirped happily, unaware that they had become symbols of hope for an entire species. 6 months had passed since the humans arrived on Valthar Prime. The city had changed. Where once there was only metal and stone, now there were spaces designed for young ones to play safely. The sanctuary spires had been rebuilt with new sections where Valthari brood tenders learned from human trainers. Haewon walked through one of the training chambers, watching as a young Valthari named Kess practiced gentle handling techniques with a newly hatched juvenile. Kess was a former warrior who had volunteered for brood tender training. She was awkward at first, her warrior instincts fighting against the need to be soft. But she was learning. "Good," Haewon encouraged. "You're supporting its weight correctly. Now try talking to it. Let it hear your voice." Kess made a low, rumbling sound. The juvenile chirped in response, its small scales glowing slightly. "It likes you," Haewon said with a smile. "This is strange," Kess admitted. "I was trained to fight, to kill. Now I am learning to nurture." "Both are important," Haewon replied. "You protect by fighting when needed, but you also protect by caring. That's what these young ones need most." So-min entered the chamber with her data pad. "Haewon, you need to see this. The latest survival rates are in." They walked to the monitoring center, where Broodmaster Kira and Vexithora were studying the results. The numbers told an incredible story. In the facilities where human training methods were used, juvenile survival had climbed to 73%. In traditional facilities, it remained at 40%. "The difference is undeniable," Kira said. "The young raised with your methods are healthier, stronger, and develop faster." "Some of the traditional brood tenders are starting to ask questions," Vexithora added. "They want to know why their juveniles are not thriving like the others." Are they willing to learn? Haywan asked. Some are. Others... Vexithora's face darkened. Others say we are diluting Valthari culture, making us weak. Are the juveniles weak? So Min asked, pulling up comparative data. Because the measurements show they're actually developing stronger muscles, better reflexes, and enhanced cognitive abilities. Facts do not matter to extremists, Vexthora said. They see change as threat. Captain Day Wan entered with news from Earth. The Galactic Council wants to send observers. They've heard about what's happening here. They're interested. Let them come, Vexithora said. Let them see what happens when species put aside pride and work together. Threxan arrived with the 3 juveniles who had started everything. Ash, Ember, and Spark were no longer small. They had grown into healthy adolescents. They were still smaller than adults, but their scales were bright, their movements confident. They ask for Haywan, Threxan said with amusement. They always ask for her. The 3 young Valthari rushed to Haywan, making happy sounds. She laughed and greeted each one. They still bonded with her, even though they spent most of their time now with Valthari teachers learning their own culture and traditions. They are remarkable, Kira said, watching them. They speak both human and Valthari languages. They understand both cultures. They are bridges between our peoples. They're just kids who were lucky enough to be loved, Haywan said softly. Misun had been working with Valthari historians, documenting the cultural changes. She presented her findings to a gathered council of Valthari leaders. Your warrior culture served you well for thousands of years, Misun explained. It helped you survive, conquer, and thrive. But every culture must evolve. The traits that made you successful in the past were creating problems in the present. So we were wrong? A elder warrior asked. Not wrong, Misun corrected. Unbalanced. You focused so much on strength that you forgot other forms of power. The power of nurturing, the power of patience, the power of emotional connection. These are not warrior traits, another Valthari protested. No, Threxan said, standing. They are survivor traits. They are parent traits. A warrior who cannot protect their own young is not truly strong. The debate continued, but the tone had shifted. More Valthari were willing to listen now. The proof was too clear to ignore. Young ones raised with human-influenced methods were thriving. Taijin had been working with Valthari scientists, studying the biological changes in the juveniles. It's fascinating, he told Daewon. The young raised in nurturing environments develop different neural pathways. They're still capable of all the warrior instincts their genetics provide, but they also have enhanced problem-solving abilities and social cognition. So they're becoming better versions of themselves, Daewon said. Exactly. Not weaker, not less Valthari, just more complete. Word spread across the galaxy. Other species heard about the unlikely partnership between humans and Valthari. Some were skeptical, others were amazed, but everyone was watching. The Galactic Council called a special session. Vexithora and Daewon were invited to present their work. It was the first time a Valthari commander and a human captain had stood together before the council as equals. Vexithora spoke first. For centuries, my people believed we were the apex predators of this galaxy. We believed our strength made us superior. We were wrong. True strength includes knowing when to ask for help. True power includes the ability to change. Daewon continued. Humans are not the strongest species. We're not the fastest or the most technologically advanced. But we've survived because we adapt. We learn. We care for our young with everything we have. When we saw Valthari juveniles in danger, we couldn't do anything else. It's who we are. And what you did saved us, Vexithora said. Not just 3 young ones, but potentially our entire species. You taught us that protecting the vulnerable is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. The council voted to formally recognize the Human Valthari Juvenile Care Initiative. Funding was provided. Other species offered to study the methods. A small act of kindness on a damaged ship had grown into something that would change galactic society. But not everyone was happy. Corvesh and his extremist faction gathered their forces. They planned one final assault to destroy the initiative and restore what they called true Valthari values. The attack came without warning. Extremist ships appeared in orbit and began bombarding the sanctuary spires. Ground forces moved in, targeting the training facilities. But this time, something was different. Thousands of Valthari who had benefited from the new methods stood and fought to protect them. Brood tenders who had learned to be gentle with young ones fought fiercely to defend them. Warriors who had once doubted now fought beside humans. The battle was the largest in Valthari civil history. But it was also the shortest. Corvesh's forces were overwhelmed not by military might but by sheer numbers. The majority of Valthari had chosen change over tradition. Corvesh himself was captured. He stood before Vexithora, defeated but unrepentant. "You have weakened us," he said, "made us soft." "No," Vexithora replied. "We have made ourselves complete." 50 years later, Haywan was old and gray. She still lived on Valthar Prime, though she moved slower now. She walked through the sanctuary spires with a purpose. Today was graduation day for new brood tenders. The ceremony was held in a great hall. Hundreds of young Valthari were receiving their training certification. Each one had learned the balance between strength and gentleness, between warrior and caregiver. And standing before them as head instructor was Ash, the small gray-scaled juvenile who had been rescued so long ago, was now a respected broodmaster. She had dedicated her life to teaching others what she had learned from the humans who saved her. "You carry two traditions now," Ash told the graduates, "the warrior spirit of our ancestors and the nurturing wisdom of our human teachers. Both are valuable. Both are necessary. You are the future of our people." Haywan watched with tears in her eyes. So-Min, now also elderly, stood beside her. "We did something good here," So-Min said. "We did something necessary," Haywan replied. "But they did the hard part. They changed." After the ceremony, Ash approached them with her own young one. "Teacher," she said to Haywan, "this is my daughter. I named her Hope, in human language, so she will always remember that hope came from unlikely friends." Haywan held the tiny juvenile carefully. It chirped and reached for her face with small claws. "Hello, little Hope. You're going to do amazing things." In the human section of the sanctuary, Jinsu was recording a message to send back to Earth. He was old too now, but his eyes were bright. "We came to the stars expecting to find monsters," he said to the camera. "We found them, but we also found something else. We found parents who loved their children. We found warriors who learned to be gentle. We found a species willing to change everything to save their young." He paused, looking around at the facility filled with both humans and Valthari working together. "People ask me why we stayed, why we gave up our lives on Earth to live here. The answer is simple. We were needed. And when you find someone who needs you to protect their children, you don't walk away. You don't calculate the cost. You just do it. That's what makes us human, not our strength, not our technology, our stubborn refusal to let fear override compassion, our inability to see a child in danger and do nothing. 50 years ago, 3 scared juveniles changed the galaxy. They taught us that even apex predators need help sometimes, that asking for help isn't weakness, that protecting the vulnerable is the truest form of power. Jinsu smiled. And they taught us that sometimes the greatest adventures come from the simplest acts of kindness. The message ended. The recording would be sent to Earth, to be archived forever. A reminder that humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy wasn't weapons or technology. It was the simple, revolutionary idea that all children deserve to be protected, even the children of those we fear. In the training chambers, young Valthari learned to be both fierce and gentle. On Earth, humans heard the story and felt proud. Across the galaxy, other species watched and wondered if they too might need to change. And in a quiet corner of the sanctuary spires, Ember and Spark sat with Ash, watching the next generation of juveniles play. They chirped to each other in the language only they shared, a mix of Valthari and human sounds. They were the first of a new kind of Valthari, not weaker, not less, just more complete. The story that began with a dying warrior's desperate plea had become a legacy, a testament to what happens when species put aside pride and work together, when they choose compassion over fear, when they protect the vulnerable, no matter how dangerous those vulnerable might someday become, because that is what civilization truly means, not the strongest weapons or the tallest buildings or the most advanced technology, but the willingness to protect those who cannot protect themselves, to change when change is needed. To learn from unlikely teachers, and most importantly, to remember that strength and gentleness are not opposites. They are partners, and together they can save worlds.